it is time to, well, get to the point, and that is talk a little Major League Baseball to start things off, a little DFS look at what is going on in today's slate, and to do so, you don't rely on me, you rely on the experts. Let's bring in Nick Friar, Stan Son, and Erik Halterman. Fellas, how are you?
Good morning.
How are you, Adam?
Tons of energy to start things off, which is just terrific. MLB Price Check, guys, is where we're going to begin. Want to know who you like on tonight's MLB slate, and in specific price ranges, obviously, just to give people a little bit of help as they work to build and set those lineups for later on, maybe just dummy lineups at this stage of the day. So we begin pitchers, 8K or above. Nick, let's begin with you.
I'm going to go with Zack Wheeler tonight. I really like him against the Nationals. And there are a lot of good pitching options tonight, but I've just been following Wheeler very closely this season. He has been outstanding. But with there being so many good options out there, you shouldn't be too chalky for you guys tonight. The Nationals have the fourth lowest OPS against right-handed pitching over the last 2 weeks, and they're middle of the pack in plate appearances per strikeouts against right-handed pitching in that same time frame. So the strikeouts should still be there. And what I like most about Wheeler too, going up against this team, he is among the 12 best pitchers at getting hitters to swing and miss those pitches in the zone that he throws. Max Scherzer's in that category too. So is Jacob deGrom. And the Phillies have the second lowest contact rate on pitches in the zone this season. So I feel very comfortable with him getting a good strikeout total and then putting up good fantasy points tonight against the Nationals.
All right, Stan, so that's some Wheeler conviction. How about from you? 8K or above for a pitcher?
Yeah, I'm going to go all the way up. I'm going to Max Scherzer, 11.4 Philly. Swinging strike rate is a robust 16.5%. He has 95 strikeouts in 69.1 innings. The Phillies, they're seventh in strikeouts against right-handed pitching. Scherzer is prone to the long ball. He's allowed 11 on the season, but the Phillies, they're 21st in ISO. There's no Bryce Harper in the lineup. In 10 starts this season, he's gone over 20 DK fantasy points in 8 games for those above 30, and he has a high of 40.7.
Well, if anyone's virtually automatic, we know it's Max Scherzer. So, Erik, where are you going to take us?
I'm going to go with definitely not virtually automatic. Going to go a bit off the rails. We'll see if I get invited back Monday. I'm going to recommend Blake Snell at 9,200, and mostly because he's been off lately. And I wouldn't go with him in a smaller contest, but I think in larger tournaments, you have a chance to get a guy who still is very talented at a pretty low ownership rate because, again, people are going to be scared of what he's done lately. And he has been bad. It's been 2 bad starts. One in Miller Park, one against the Astros. But I think facing a beat-up Mets team at a much pitcher-friendly park in Petco Park in San Diego, that's a different deal. And I think he can get back on track here. 5.55 ERA on the season is not good. I'm not pretending it is, but there's a 3.33 BABIP inflating that, as well as a 21.1% homer per fly ball rate, which pitchers don't generally have too much control over. 360 xFIP, which factors that in, says he's been a little bit worse than he normally is, but not by a ton. His 32.1% strikeout rate is an exact match for his number over the last 3 years. He is walking way too many guys, but I think on the whole, Snell is only a little bit worse than he's been the past few years. So if you can get him when nobody else is in a pretty nice spot here, I think could turn out well for you in tournaments.
Well, the good news is, unless you have a literal crystal ball that you're just blatantly ignoring, and you're giving us misfacts or untruths or whatever that proper word would be for people that speak good English. You see how I did that as well. I'm confident you'll be invited back, so not to worry. Let's go right back to you, Stan. Take us through some of the bats this time around, 5K or above. Who do you like?
I'm going to go Christian Yelich, 5.1K versus Arizona. I mean, he's been pretty terrible to start the season. He had some injuries. He did homer yesterday. Now he gets to face off against Matt Peacock and the Arizona bullpen. Peacock, 7.2% swinging strike rate. He's allowed 5 home runs in 28 innings. Against left-handed bats, the slash is 283, 292, 609. 4 of the 5 home runs have been given up to lefties. And, once he's out of the game, the Diamondbacks bullpen, they have the 10th highest FIP, and they allow 1.33 home runs per 9 innings.
All right. What do you think, Nick?
I'm going to go with Ronald Acuna at 5.6K tonight. And because it's such a huge slate, there are so many quality options that I feel like he's not going to be as chalky as he normally would be. Chris Bryant is actually priced a little bit higher. Now, I know he's probably facing a worse pitcher if Scott Kazmir goes out tonight, as opposed to Ronald Acuna, who's facing Julio Urias. but I am fading him hardcore after his last start. I'm not expecting Urias to go and get smacked around like he did the time before, but going up against Acuna, who hasn't got the better of him yet in 6 tries so far, I would think that at some point he's going to get a hold of one against Urias, especially when you consider that Acuna has a 1.152 OPS against left-handed pitching this season. So I feel confident in him tonight as your high-price bat.
Erik, what do you think, my friend?
Yeah, looking into the crystal ball and giving some actual truths this time rather than the blatant lies from my last answer. I'm going to go with Chris Bryant at 5,800, who was just touched on by Nick. He's probably going to get the platoon advantage against Scott Kazmir. I believe as of right now, it's not quite confirmed that Kazmir's starting. But if he is, I mean, man, he's a great story. But we're talking about a guy who's made 2 professional starts in the last 4 years. I guess 2 in affiliated ball plus 3 more in independent ball. Good for him for being back in the majors, but he's not a guy we have to be at all scared of. Whereas Bryant is a guy that pitchers should be scared of. Not only is he bouncing back from an injury-filled year, he's bouncing back from a couple of years where he was clearly a worse player than he was at the start of his career. This year, he's got career highs across the board. Career best 316 batting average is backed up by a career best 282 expected batting average. Career high 596 slugging, backed up by a career high 507 expected slugging. Career high in barrel rate, and he's doing it all with a career low in launch angle, which you might think would be bad, but in his case, it's purely taking fly balls and turning them into line drives. His ground ball rate is virtually unchanged. So you're taking a bunch of flyouts, turning them into singles, doubles in the gap, and it's really working for him this year.
Erik, let's stay with you here. And in the same way that I shop for DVDs, we need to reach on into the bargain bin. We need to find some value, my friend. So where are you looking for a value bat?
I like Andrew Benintendi at 3,900. He's going to get the platoon advantage against Matt Shoemaker. 5.90 ERA is maybe a little bit worse than the estimators, but not by a lot. They all seem to be above 5. Specifically, he allows a ton of contact. 14.7% strikeout rate is the 6th lowest among pitchers who've thrown at least 50 innings this year. Benintendi had been bad for the last couple of years, but he's hitting 292, 351, 400 this year. That's a little bit above his expected batting average of 271, but a little bit below his expected slugging, 435. So it seems more or less in line with how well he's hit the ball. Hardest hard hit rate of his career at 43% is about 8 ticks above his career average. Second best barrel rate of his career. He's also been particularly hot lately. Over his last 19 games, he's hitting 339. So very solid mid-priced option, who I think is bouncing back to the level where he was at the start of his career.
Nick, let's spin it over to you, a.k.a. Steve's daddy. What do you got here?
I'm going to go with Clint Frazier at 2.4K at Yankee Stadium against Nathan Eovaldi tonight. And I know Eovaldi's done well against the Yankees for the most part throughout his career, but he's usually better at Fenway Park than he is at Yankee Stadium. And I know, look, the Yankees have been pretty brutal lately. So I'm not going to go with the whole Yankees lineup against Eovaldi, but Clint Frazier has only faced him 5 times, but he has 2 doubles and a home run against him. So at a cheap price, I'm going to go and try and take a gamble on that guy. Overall, obviously Frazier's season numbers are gross, but he's been better over the last 10 games. I'm seeing every offensive category, his numbers are getting boosted a little bit. So I'm thinking against a guy who sometimes struggles at Yankee Stadium and who Frazier has done well against previously. I'm going to go and take him at 2.4K.
What do you say, Stan?
I love the Brewers stack today. I think with Colton Wong out, I mean, there's going to be 2 guys up the top of the order. They're both priced at 2.6K. I'm going to go with Dan Vogelbach here. He's going to probably bat second in the order. I went over Peacock and the Arizona bullpen earlier. He has 3 home runs on the season. Walk rate is 15%. Strikeout rate, manageable 22%. ISO is only 120 this year, but, he's a career 192 ISO batter. Against right-handed pitching, the ISO spikes up to 214. So, the implied run total is 5 for the Brewers today. I think that's 4th highest on the slate. So, I want to attack this Diamondbacks pitching.
Well, around these parts, guys, we're all collective switch hitters, right? We can do one side of the plate, DFS. We haven't ventured to the other side of the plate yet. Mix it up, a little MLB DK Sportsbook talk. And let's go back to you, Erik, here to lead things off. What's your favorite bet on this whole slate tonight on the DraftKings Sportsbook?
I'm going to go with the Red Sox over the Yankees. They're a slight underdog, only plus 105, but technically an underdog, and I'm really not sure why. I think they're better on both sides of the ball tonight. They're 7th by WRC+. The Yankees are 15th, so that's a pretty meaningful gap in the lineups. And in the pitching, I think I much prefer Nathan Eovaldi to Michael King. Eovaldi's ERA is just north of 4. Most of the ERA estimators have him in the low to mid 3s. Weirdly, despite his velocity, he's never really been a strikeout guy, and that's true this year, slightly below average 22.8% strikeout rate. But he has his usual strong control, just a 5.5% walk rate, ground ball rate slightly above league average too. So nothing special, but a respectable all-around pitcher there. On the other side, Michael King, 26-year-old with just over 50 career major league innings, was never a significant prospect, probably going to be a swingman for his career. He's a swingman now. 2.86 ERA this year is not supported by the peripherals at all. Most of the ERA estimators have him in the mid to high 4s, just a 20.4% strikeout rate against the 10.2% walk rate. Neither of those is very good. He's only made one start this season, and he couldn't even complete the third inning against the Tigers of all teams while giving up 4 runs. Career ERA 5.33. So not a lot to like about King. I think with the advantage on both sides, I think it's hard for me to understand why the Red Sox would be underdogs.
Nick, do you want to stay in that game or look elsewhere?
Well, I do want to say that Erik has a good pick there. I think that King is in for a rough night. He's been, even before he moved into the starting rotation, he had been struggling too. So I think that's a good pick. But my favorite one is Zack Wheeler's K-prop. And the 2 times I've gone with him this year, he's hit the over for me. And in his last 5 starts, he's hit Friday's over. I kind of went over some of the numbers previously when I was talking about him as a DFS pick. But at 6.5, I don't understand how Wheeler's K-prop is so low. I mean, he's got double-digit strikeouts in his last 3 outings. And I get that the Nationals as a whole in the season aren't striking out quite as much as the Phillies are. So Scherzer's K-prop's a little bit higher, but still, believe it or not, the Nationals are striking out more against right-handed pitchers than the Phillies are of late. So I think 6.5 for so Wheeler's got to get 7 Ks tonight. That's a lock for me for sure.
Stan, as we bat around one last time, what do you think?
I'm a little frightened here because I'm kind of going against Nick, who is, he's basically from the future. I call him Alma Nick just because he's been, just
Like that.
hitting on hitters that have been double donging, triple donging, things like that. But, I'm going to go Washington minus 1.5. It's at plus 180. It was at plus 185 last night. Scherzer, he is my guy at pitching today, so I think he does shut down Philly. Zack Wheeler, he's really good. Swing strike rate 13.1%. FIP is 2.48. Nick has gone over everything about him. That said, Washington, they do strike out the 3rd fewest times in the league against right-handed pitching. And Juan Soto, I mean, he's heating up. He has home runs in 2 of the last 3 games. Oh, back-to-back games, I'm sorry. And, the Philly bullpen, they have the 9th highest FIP. So I do like the odds here, and I do like them, Washington, to cover the spread here.